right, everybody, I want you to repeat after me. We declare.
We declare.
We declare.
We declare.
Our determination.
Our determination.
At this symbol of oppression.
At this symbol of oppression.
We declare.
We declare.
This system.
This system.
Must be taken down.
Must be taken down.
And it can be.
And it can be.
We are going to issue this declaration in two parts. I'm going to say a couple things and then we're going to do a couple things. I want you to sit tight with me for a minute. First of all, people should know that all day what they were doing over here was holding a celebration. A celebration of 150 years of the LAPD. A celebration. A celebration of what? What has the last 150 years actually been? You know, a lot of people want to say, oh yeah, some of the cops are corrupt. Something must have went wrong along the way. Well, let me tell you, sisters and brothers, this was wrong from day one.
That's right.
150 years ago was what? 1869. This was no country of freedom and equality. 1859. They had just conquered this land. 1869, they were carrying out the genocide against the native people. 1869 was when the LAPD was established. 1869, a celebration of what? 2 years after the establishment of the LAPD, the police chief oversaw and stood aside and went to bed as a lynch mob came to the streets to round up Chinese people. That's right, most people don't know about this. Chinese people were rounded up and lynched. Why? Because as late as the 1950s and 60s, the police chiefs told you, LA is the shining white dot of American cities. This was the city that they wanted to keep white. And they talked about the people that they policed. They talked about them like savages that needed to be kept down. Again, this was not some corrupt cop. This was not just one policy or one law. This gives you a sense of the history of this country and what Michelle was saying earlier, which is in this book, Basics from Bob Avakian. That the role of the police is not to serve and protect the people. It is to serve and protect the system that rules over the people. To enforce the relations of exploitation and oppression. The conditions of poverty, misery, and degradation into which the system has cast people and is determined to keep people in. The law and order that the police are about, with all their brutality and murder, is the law and order that enforces all this oppression and madness. This is what the LAPD has done for 150 years. Like I said, from day one, continuing up through the 1900s, putting down black people who moved here, migrated from the South. Murder after murder, and then when people rebelled against that murder, people were shot down, put down, arrested, and contained. Rebellion after rebellion from 1965 to 1968 to 1992, and on and on and on. Not only carrying out daily brutality and murder, but developing red squads to target communists and revolutionaries, to assassinate revolutionary organizers and leaders, like in the Black Panther Party. This is the history of what the LAPD has done. And it's not just ancient history. This is their roll down to today. People coming up in South Central LA. They learn to see other people just like them as the enemy, but they also know that the boys in blue are the enemy. And that is a real enemy, okay? And they carry out this terror and brutality and enforce this whole way of life on people. And it's not just the LAPD. It is the police all across this country who enforce this way of life on people.
That's right.
And no, it's not just some bad apples and corrupt cops. What do they tell you about how they view what they're doing? Throughout the generations. A war on drugs, a war on crime, a war on gangs. Operation Hammer, the police chief said, this is war, and we need to let everybody know we're coming after them and going to get them. War. This is what they have declared on the masses of oppressed people that they have no future for. Well, today, we let the world know we are declaring a political war on their system. They have the people that they have no future for encircled with guns and tanks. They have the people they encircled in prisons. Well, we aim to encircle them.
That's right. That's right.
We aim to bring forward the people who have the hardest life to stand up to this system, but also the people who don't have that hard life, who are trained right now to view the people who suffer this way as if they are worth nothing and deserve every shit that this system gives to them. We are bringing them into the revolution too, so we can encircle them and get to the days when the people who are sick of living this way can rise up and not just be isolated and contained. And as Bob Avakian says, this system cannot be allowed to just contain the revolution to those that this system would just as soon kill off anyway. We need to bring forward wave after wave of opposition to this system from all corners. And right now, take a look to the left and to the right of you. Look at who has come out here today to put on this shirt and represent for revolution nothing less. You have Latino people. You have black people. You have white people. You have people from the neighborhoods in South Central. And you have students from UCLA. You have people from LA and from Vallejo. Okay, and people who have come from across the country as part of the National Revolution the National Revolution Tour, to make this declaration that the scores that are out here today are determined not to back down, determined not to cow in the face of fear, whether it's the fear of being the first or the fear of what they might do to us for stepping up and standing out. Because the real fear that we should have is of allowing this world to continue the way it is.
That is right. That's right.
The real fear should be looking the eyes of the children in the face and telling them that we did nothing when we had the chance to stop this.
That's right. Come on, Wish. Real fear.
And it's not just the youth and the children here in LA. Take a look. I don't know if you can see it from where you're standing, but look at what is hoisted high in front of this 77th Division. Look at that ugly, blood-soaked red, white, and blue rag that flies atop this precinct. Flag is what people see come along with drones and bombs and troops stitched with that flag on their shoulder, who come in to rape, to slaughter, to plunder, destroy, and dominate people all over the world. That flag flies over 100 countries where the U.S. has 800 military bases all around the world. That flag flies over colonies in the Caribbean, in South America, in Asia, in Africa, like this all over the country. While they tell you that flag goes around the world protecting your freedom, people here don't have the freedom to walk down the street if you're black or brown. And that flag flies over all of it. That flag flies over the detention centers, like the one in El Paso, where they have immigrant people, including children, 900 deep, packed into a facility built for 100. modern day slave ships where bodies are packed on top bodies and where children are denied the right to learn and even play.
Yes.
That's right.
Preach it.
That flag flies over courts that send black and brown people to prisons all across this country.
That's right.
Courts where they're telling us now that women aren't human enough to decide what happens to their own bodies.
Yes.
Courts where children, like I mentioned, at the border are lined up in front of judges, 5 and 6 years old, without lawyers, and told in a language they don't even understand that they have to represent themselves and explain to some judge why they came here from halfway across the world. Well, those 5 and 6 year olds may not know this, but we do. The reason so many come here from all over the world, as Bob Avakian has said very sharply, it's not because this is the land of freedom and democracy. It's because they're coming from places that this country has fucked up even worse than what they do here.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. That is true. That is true.
And this declaration today must go forward from here. You have taken the first step into the revolution today. We have taken a bold step to declare to the world our determination to grow to the hundreds and then thousands, to influence all of society, so that when people see this and are fed up, they don't have to line up behind another politician who is going to represent the same damn system. Because I'll tell you, sisters and brothers, all those crimes have been carried out by Republicans, Democrats, and every other stripe in between.
Yes.
Because they all serve the same system. But we serve the masses of people, and we are determined to bring down the system that they serve.
That's right. That's right.
And when people who have had enough see you and people like you stepping out and saying, we're not afraid to be the first. We're not afraid to step out and carry the burden. Not because we're some bad motherfuckers, which we are,
That's right.
but because we represent the 7 billion people on the planet and their emancipation.
That's right. Tell it.
And because today we have what generations past have not had. You heard earlier Joe Veal talk about the 1960s and his time in the Black Panther Party. And when people had a lot of courage and they had the right idea and they went for revolution with the best understanding they had, but they didn't have a way to win. Many people sacrificed. They faced all kinds of fears. And they also got cut down and locked up. And some people gave up. Well, Bob Avakian came out of all that and refused to not only give up, but he refused to rest with what they knew then, and went to work on solving big problems of the revolution. How? How? Right here, where these imperialists are strongest. How could a force emerge that could actually take on and defeat all their violent force of repression and overthrow their system and get it off the backs of people here and all around the world? He's gone to work on those problems. How, even after a revolution, do we not just become the very same thing that we've been fighting? He's gone to work on that, learning from other revolutions that have happened around the world. Given that we have all this, why should we be afraid? Why should we not find the courage and the bravery to soar to the heights that have never been soared before and actually finish off this system and get humanity free? And when the revolution comes, let me tell you, sisters and brothers, we will tear down that blood-soaked red, white, and blue rag from every vulture's perch and raise the banner of total emancipation of humanity.